Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so pleased that we reached this point and we're able to have a very productive and I think constructive day of discussions of our 12th International Symposium on the Czech Foreign Policy, Building Sustainable Connections. My name is Alica Kizeková and I'm the program coordinator for this event. This is my third year, but the first time we actually prepared this event in an online format. For me, I have to say I was very interested to see how everyone connects from around the globe, and we were able to coordinate speakers of very high caliber and expertise. And I felt like the panels could have gone for much longer, especially those that I was involved in. We normally run them 90 minutes, and this time we only dedicated 1 hour. And I do apologize to those who feel like they had much more to say than they were allowed to, because obviously we will always have more to say, but also the audience probably felt like some of the questions might not have been answered. We collected them, but if you feel like you want to engage in more discussions, you can always contact us or me directly and even ask where we can redirect your question. And I'm sure every panelist will find some time to answer. I have to say that majority of our panels went without disruptions. One of the panels that was more affected, as I was told, by more external influences, was the one on women representation. And I was reassured that we will be able to edit the footage, and you will be able to see a cleaner discussion online when we get it, and we will inform you when that's ready if you would like to revisit some of those remarks. I would like to thank every panelist and chair for really exploring the topic of connectivity, but building sustainable connections in a very sort of multi-spectral way, cross-disciplinary, engaging people from industry and academic researchers, NGOs, also students who are part of our internship program. They will have to explore panel discussions through final summaries that they have to draft. And I think we looked into diverse areas where we could find solutions that are lasting. I was quite pleased to see, even in the Eurasian Roundtable that I was chairing, how much diversity we brought in that particular topic on interregionalism and connectivity between Europe and Asia. And some of the findings that I noticed there, but also in other panels, was that we are not often tapping into our local collaborations, projects, initiatives as much as we could. And from the side of European engagements, geographically East and West, there is sometimes not enough exchange to understand each other's positions, or maybe the contributions that each side can bring to the table. And today I saw some very reassuring comments how those solutions or initiatives from one side or the other could be positive and contribute. Very important points that I gathered already from the remarks from our keynotes was that some of the issues that we have at play are actually pre-existing before the COVID-19 crisis. In particular, there was a mention of the US-China tension, and I think what's important to say that yes, we've seen even more verbal, I think, reignition of this particular tension, but quite everyone is aware of it, and there are efforts within international fora to set differences aside to some degree and try to collaborate. In some of the panels, speakers were mentioning funding that's coming from the European Union in some programs is welcome in different regions, but might not be always communicated enough for others to be aware. But these fundings are welcome and needed. Some audience members were really curious about us talking about role models, some sort of cases, best practices, even in topics of women representation and engagement, how they can be used in areas that are post-conflict, conservative, or are in the situation where there are issues with representation of different genders. This is something that we need to discuss further. And I think even in some cases when we feel like one size fits all scenario, we need to look at the localized situation. And we learn from our speaker exchanges how sometimes we see the same topic differently when we are located in different part of the world. Coming from Asian context might be different than being in Europe. And I think not often in those interactions we bring out the localized context that shapes our perceptions enough to actually find some solutions. In terms of another very important topic that was brought up by our speakers, and the keynote was on the propaganda and use of information that really can be harmful and can trigger processes that are not very contributive. We heard about the use of social media and how important this is to deal with on an ongoing basis, because obviously this is something that we all are dealing with more now than ever, and we have to be more selective as to what information we get through our portals and whether we have any control in blocking some harmful and hateful or negative narratives. This is something that is ongoing, and I think in this conversation we have to include also the younger generation that has been brought up completely on through this social media, but also using different gadgets for their studies or personal life. I found that in some cases we sort of take for granted in our decision making or creating the solutions the access to such tools as internet. Some speakers mentioned that in their area of interest, they are studying regions that do not currently have good access to the internet, or there might be censorship involved. And so we need to consider that as well. And we need to work with people who are area studies, who speak the local languages, engage with the local communities to understand how much is available to us when we propose certain solutions. When I was enjoying some of the screenings I wasn't chairing, I really enjoyed looking at discussions on the international development. Some of the speakers were highlighting the issue of the Millennium Goals being presented by elites in societies, but not always enough presented or understood by local people again. So I think this is very important. While we had some, I think, checks and balances for governments and their programs in place, now more than ever, people might be asking more questions about how money is allocated and whether they are actually benefiting from some collaborations and coalitions. And I think this needs to be considered with the issues of unemployment, displacement of people that was mentioned on several occasions across panels, because we spoke about groups that are very vulnerable already, such as refugees, in some cases asylum seekers. Those people might be in situations when, even during COVID, being in crowded areas without enough protection, they might be at risk. And the solutions that they need and the funding, that's quite necessarily has to be even accelerated now. One of the important topics that I picked up on was definitely the case of opening up the trade flows and supply chains across the world. Many touched on the initiatives even from China, such as Belt and Road Initiative, whether that's going to be affected. We've spent so much time analyzing this vision, and many countries are affected. So the conclusions were that these particular projects might be in place, but again, there might be more scrutiny as to how much we have tangible results in these cases. I could go on even more, but I would like to more than ever thank all of the chairs and panelists who were part of this wonderful online experience. I definitely feel more rewarded after hearing some of the remarks, and I hope some networking also took place. And I want to thank our conference staff, who was wonderful in not sort of losing their patience through the process of switching from the real events to the online version. I normally would raise a glass of wine to thank everyone, and that's not going to happen. So I invite you to do so in your own homes and places where you are. And then hopefully next year we can reunite in Prague, because it's such a attraction, centrally located, but also very charming place. And I'm sure there will be the 13th version next year. And anyone who would like to be part of it in any sort of interaction, please reach out. We always look for new partners. This year we had the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, some help from the Embassy of the United States, but also other embassies and organizations who were in their non-official capacity through speakers or through recommending speakers for our discussions. All this is very helpful, and we are very grateful for all your support and sort of your desire to be part of this interaction. So once again, thank you very much. And I wish everybody very safe and very connected still time wherever you are. I think this is might sound like a cliche, but we are all in this together in different conditions, but it's something that unites us right now. And I think we were able to come out of it with something constructive, as shape new ideas for the future. Wish everybody wonderful rest of your day or evening. Some people will probably go to bed or it's past their bedtime. So until next year, bye.